Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Of course, I'm your host. And of course, you guys are here to partake in one of the very few long form tri-cast shows on the internet. Yes, this show is broadcast on Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server. At least the audio is punched out to our Discord server. Thank you very much for joining me. And this week we are talking about unicorns. Uh, Strange, maybe even creatures that can kind of back ourselves into a corner creatively. When it comes to tabletop RPGs, especially Dungeons and Dragons, but nonetheless, the point of this show is to deep dive into a particular subject. And each day, of course, we subdivide it into our own theme on that day. And today is World Building Wednesday. And so the rules on World Building Wednesday are to take whatever subject we're talking about and then build a world, build a setting around that particular subject, no matter how strange or odd or obnoxious or humorous that thing may be. So unicorns. The first thing that comes to mind when it comes to when I think of unicorns and what thread I would pull on if I wanted to shape a world around this. Now, mind you, when we talk about creating a world, it you don't necessarily need to literally think of a big globe and a whole world. This could be a large enough region that it's a location your players can engage in, whether it's a single island or a small city, or it could be an entire continent or something. But the first thing that comes to mind with unicorns to me is that unicorns, and there's a lot of other monsters that fit into this category, but unicorns seem to be the pinnacle monsters, right? Like, for example, you have your average horse, and then there are other magical styled horses, Pegasi and the Pegasus and the Nightmare come to mind. But and then of course you have yourselves like centaurs and other creatures like that. But unicorns kind of represent the pinnacle of a monster type or animal type. Um, Cameron says, just watched a video about Yowies or Australian Sasquatch, which I'm sure there's that thing I didn't know they were called Yowies. And the weirdest thing in the video were oddly large, un ungulate tracks. Didn't look like they came from a horse, but it made me think unicorn. Oh, like because one of the descriptions on unicorns is that they have been depicted as having cloven hooves. So it's possible that they might not like they're not exactly horses, that they are. I mean, they've been depicted as goat-like or something. And this idea that the idea that they are um, an apex monster is one thread to pull on, and I think the other one too is they fill this gap between um, naturalistic and animal and brilliant uh, brilliant antagonist, right? Like um, uh, an animalistic monster is your classic owlbear or manticore or um, like any of the monsters that they don't talk, they basically operate on instinct, okay? And whether they're bloodthirsty or whatever, it really doesn't matter. But you know, all your dire animals kind of fit into that category. Then of course, you have the other category of um, intelligent, motivated, sentient styled creatures like Naga or Oni, ogre magi, or fiends, or celestials, or giants, where they have a language, they have a culture, they have their own motivations. But unicorns kind of fill something in the middle. So the reason why I mention both of those is because and their long life as well. Unicorns have a very long life, and there are things that are not unicorns that kind of fill that role. The Sphinx, the Phoenix. I apologize. The Phoenix comes to mind for me as um, a creature in mythology and other cultures that fills that role. Um, yeah, Cameron's like cloven hooves matches the tracks. Maybe he did find unicorn tracks, right? Yeah, yeah. How do you know unicorns don't exist if you haven't been able to find them yet, right? And like Deadman says in the Dragonlance setting, the unicorn was based on a stag. Now there are through various other cultures, unicorns have always represented uh, it represented a like a social uh, paradigm, and I think in world building we can kind of pull on that thread. Your DM says unicorns seem to me to fit well with elves or other sylvan aligned creatures, natural allies of those who defend the wilds. Yeah, so the reason why I said I'm pulling on that thread is I'm imagining a world where uh, industry hasn't existed yet. Now, this could be because the unicorns don't want industry to exist, or there's no need for industry. And industry, I'm talking like major cities and developments, building roads and highways, major shipping lanes. Like I'm thinking proto tribal, nomadic type of people, and the unicorn is a creature that humanity has been able to rely on. Now, uh, if we go with the unicorn as a as an idealistic creature, meaning like there might be other creatures that are unicorn like, meaning that they have like magical abilities, they are motivated by powers that we don't understand, that they are part physical, part spirit, um, around the world, that the unicorn might represent an idealism where humanity's not thinking of building cities and needing to defend themselves, but really the the unicorn's domain is where humanity is able to really develop, really find safety, and that might be the thing that yeah, Gaster, yeah, that might be the thing that we can pull on. So in this setting, I'm thinking that humanity is arranged as like I can't think of other words like tribes, groups, factions that live in the wild, and the if your group, your faction's able to find a domain that a unicornic creature lives in, and you're allied with it, that you, of course, you'll have more success in living and surviving and such. I mean, if you live in the domain of a unicorn, healing is better. There's probably your they hint at the idea that, of course, your woodland area wouldn't burn down because, of course, you can't light any fires there, right? There that your healing attempts through rest and dreaming and such might be better. I brought up yesterday about a unicorn being like a midwife of sorts. So I'm guessing that just the presence of the unicorn might make disease and famine um, less of an issue. Food sources might be excellent as well. So yeah, I for me, I'm thinking that in this setting, that it is not about establishing a stronghold. It's more or less finding these oases in and around the world, in the setting, and those um, lands of safety are like protectorates by these magical creatures. And mind you, like just like Deadman brings up in Dragonlance that the unicorn was based on a stag. I'm thinking like pinnacle creatures, horses, stags and deer, bears. What are some other things? Bobcats, lions, and of course you can spread this out to other regions. Like deserts might have scorpions that kind of represent the same thing. Like a giant scorpion runs over this one particular area, or cobras, or vultures, or things of that nature. And the the bands of people that live in these different regions call upon their power. And of course, if these magical creatures move from region to region, their loyal followers are going to do the same thing, right? Hey, if you're in the jungle and you're going to encroach on building ships or something to sail across to another island, of course they're going to travel with that animal and whatnot. And even the people themselves may learn a lot from the creatures that are there, whether it's physically learning how to track along with the creature that is magical that tracks through the land, or it could be something dreamlike where people are picked. They just happen to know it instinctually or something. Um, Gaster Two Soul says, I almost see it like the shadow of the Colossus. There are just these large, barren landscapes with a few ruined villages, and even some normal villages with people in it. Maybe due to magic being such a major thing, humans have sort of thinned out. I can see that. Since humans are naturally not magic, forming these tribes as a way to defend themselves from magical creatures, certain humans may have allied themselves with magical creatures to learn some low level magic. I like the idea that maybe this could be like a fallen world of sorts, like science and technology and industry. And when I say science and technology, I'm not thinking anything much further than the Renaissance period, right? But it could be uh, pseudo steampunky if you want to get that far. Like, and of course, y'all DM brings up like, yeah, if people can cast Goodberry, you don't need agriculture. Which, by the way, depending on how rare that is, like I could imagine there being a place where good berries just grow on trees, right? And other warring tribes are like, hey, we want to steal their good berries, and the people that live there are going like, yeah, we're not leaving because there's good berry trees, right? And so maybe, just maybe, like learning magic or even casting magic might be rare outside of these little havens or something. And hey there, Andrew Smartin, what's going on there? The RLDM says humans form bonds with magical creatures. That's how you end up with the Unicorn Clan, the Phoenix Clan, yep, the Owlbear Clan, the Manticore Clan. Yeah, I think that would be awesome, right? Like I mentioned before, maybe the people that are defending the region, they don't want to hunt the unicorn down, but maybe the unicorn gives them certain gifts, like they're the great elder carries around with them this ancient unicorn horn because they found it, or they've the humans have adapted to operating and learning skills in the manner of the creature that they are adapted to. So like the Manticore clan might make like glider wings or something, or they use a whip that if they sling the stick or the whip, like spikes fly out of it or something, right? Like, and heck, why not have them ride on non non-intelligently based creatures, right? Like the Unicorn Clan the region might just have horses in it that have little stubby horns on it that aren't true unicorns. They just happen to, and they come in different colors or something like that. Like that might be, or heck, the unicorn might be the reason why horses exist in the first place. You know, it might not be uh, it might not be a question of parallel development. It might be, hey, listen, there's the King Manticore, and then there are all these other smaller ones that people are riding on or something. So yeah, that's the world I'm thinking of, and unicorns just happen to be a one of various representations. Tesla says unicorns, friends of maidens, turn violently um, against them upon the loss of their virginity. Unicorns lead raids to kill lumberjacks near their evergreen glades. Ooh. Young girls have to be regularly given over to them in a manner resembling dragon sacrifices. On the whole, the effect is just like living next to any other sort of mythical monster because that's what it takes to get into fairy tales. Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I'm liking that because there's this like shades of gray kind of thing, right? Like, we always think of take the maiden up into the volcano or to the dragon or um sacrificing the maiden to appease the monster. Who's to say that unicorns don't want the same expect the same sacrifice? Ooh, Gripel says, don't forget the badass unicorn, the Kyrin. I was thinking about that too. Ooh, that's a sweet, sweet image there in the Discord. Yeah, celestial dragons might even fit into this, but I'm thinking of clans and monsters that don't necessarily talk, right? Like I know unicorns have telepathy, but I'm thinking of these animalistic monsters that are apex predators, but they don't necessarily want to or have a desire to or have the capability to, you know, uh, talk outwardly and openly. Well, like Featherfall says, Chirin are non-violent, so that wouldn't fit. Unicorns are non-violent, but not necessarily, right? Like we can say that the unicorn expects to keep with them that let's go with the maiden idea, right? So young maidens are expected to leave their families to go off with the unicorns off into the woods, through some mysterious bonding that no one knows about, but the family doesn't want their young children, not necessarily young girls, but it could be just young children, to go off with these unicorns because we don't know what they expect, right? Like the unicorn's thinking, okay, no maidens, fine. You guys can go because I'm expecting these to raise these individuals. And then, 10 years later, you see them, the young maidens mounted on the back of the unicorn and whatnot, barely able to speak any English at all, if or English, common, whatever the case may be, because of their thought processes are so off, or maybe they become an emissary for the unicorn. Like they come into the village and they are speaking on behalf of the unicorn, and the family's like, "Where have you gone?" And of course, they're like they have these alien thoughts or something in their mind. So yeah, and by the way, this is world building. We don't have to like. Where's the canon? The canon is the canon that we make. I said that. Hey, I've been saying it all week there, Featherfall. Yeah, a unicorn warlock would be neat. I absolutely agree with you. Um, oh man, Cameron's like, "Welcome to Goodberry, home of the Goodberry. Can I take your order?" I'd like, I'd like a. I'll start out with Goodberry appetizer with what's my main meal going to be? I don't know. A Goodberry souffle. Oh, good choice. And for your drink, I'll have Goodberry wine. Excellent, excellent. And what will you be having? French toast. Get out of here. Um, Deadman says in one of the tales from Dragonlance, the Great White Stag encounters a unicorn who turns it into a unicorn while the unicorn is the subject of a hunt by the dragon armies. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't. Man, I don't remember the Dragonlance stories, and that was in my heyday. That was like late '80s, early '90s, something like that. The RLDM says maybe the totem animal is the true unicorn, or like the prime manticore, the greatest example of their kind. All others are less intelligent, less divine, fiendish, less powerful versions of the creature. Oh, that's exactly where I'm going with this, right? Like the true unicorn has no stats. The grand manticore or something like that. Like it is a spirit creature. It's something that you could never destroy or hunt down or hit it, take away its hit points, right? But the stat block in the book is the physical representation of said thing. It's kind of like going to Disney World, where sure there's a bunch of different Mickey Mouses, but you'll never see two Mickey Mouses together at one time, right? They just happen to all be there in their different different pants in the park, right? I'm thinking the same thing. Like there might be 15 different clans associated with the unicorn, each clan having their own visions of the unicorn, but all they know is that there's only one, or at least in their head, there's only one. Yeah. Featherfall says, "Would you say going into the mating habits of a creature is too much information?" Um, Not necessarily. It depends on because today is World Building Wednesday. It's possible that Thunderbirds. I like that idea. Thunderbirds represent that kind of thing as well. Um, yeah, like Deadman says, going into the mating habits is like, not according to TSR, because they have since the early days of the Dragon magazine had ecology, monster ecology. So I don't think there's a problem with that. And like Jarl's talking about, the animal totems. I could see tribes getting together to cause a breeding of sorts between two tribes, even though there might be animals that could never scientifically breed with each other. This might not be a scientific thing. Maybe they come together temporarily. That's where you get sphinxes and, I don't know, chimera or something like that. Maybe that's where they come from. Jarl DM says, so you've got the patron matron beast of the clan who is special or near divine, while there are many mundane versions of the creature. Yeah, it goes on to say fertility rituals based on animals is one of the most ancient things we know about humans. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And again, like, for me, because when it comes to world building, not only is it interesting to build a world, but like, what are the people doing? So I think it would be awesome to have, like, player characters need to protect eggs or small younglings, or there's the tribe is getting too big, and so much like the queen in a hive, when there's another queen born, they have to leave. Or like when lions, male predatory animals, um, start to get larger and grow, that they have to split off. I think it would be sweet to have like a tribalistic nature where the player characters, their first level, and when they obtain first level, this is when they have to go off by themselves, and they have to take with them and cultivate this seed of sorts with them, like a baby unicorn, or um, the egg of some creature, and go off on their own, find their own territory, have to navigate through these other established regions to obtain their own location, and then try to survive there. Maybe they have to steal good berries from the clan that has the good berry trees living by. Hell, you could even good berry is a spell, right? Maybe in this world, there the idea of learning a spell like a wizard isn't a thing. Maybe a lot of these spells are they are a natural part of the world, right? Like like a fireball. You got to go get yourself a fireball. Like you can't just cast a fireball. Maybe that's the thing. Oh man. Cameron says the talking about like the kind of monster that can only be killed with a 200-pound copper axe. Maybe there are like special circumstances that allow you to kill another monster or creature, or heck, it might just be ritualistic. Oh man, that's all, dude. That's awesome, there, Gaster. Yeah. Put Gaster's putting into the Discord images of like tribal symbols or something. I'm imagining them being like tattoos or scarification, or carved into like trees or stone, or banners that are hung over the side of like mounts or something like that, or woven into blankets. Oh hell yeah! Oh, I love that. I love it a lot. Um, it's also it, while we think of the unicorn as being unkillable, it, it could be a ritualization effect where the tribe, the greatest hunters, have to hunt down their monster for whatever particular reason to kill it, and that's part of the ritual. Like the unicorn doesn't go away; there it is just there to test the mantle of the tribes people to kill the unicorn, to of course honor its death and whatnot. Maybe they do something that honors its death. The people can live off of the meat and everything. They use the flesh, they use the horn, and then you know the next day comes and the sun rises, and in the place where they buried the bones and all that kind of business, right out of the dirt comes yet another unicorn. Or heck, nothing else happens, but from here comes around the corner, the unicorn shines its golden light upon the tribe, and they're like, "Yep, you did it." So, and yes, I absolutely agree with you. You're all like fertility rituals. Hell, they still do that today, right? You know, what the ivory or the horns from rhinoceroses are used as um, and are thought to have an aphrodisiac element to it, right? So yeah, they're doing something about monkeys too, killing a ton of monkeys and whatnot. Um, Cameron says reading monster mating is only as awkward as animal mating. The difference is when writing about it, because then you have to come up with it yourself. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, do I really have to describe how the manticore breeds with the, I don't know, the chimera? It's like, uh, Featherfall says, I recently created a homebrew monster who breeds using magic. The magical energies function similarly to sperm and egg, and the children are conjured after the gestation is complete. I don't have a problem with that. Sure. Heck, the tribes people could be commingled in the breeding factor, like oh the butterfly tribe, members of the butterfly tribe are spun into cocoons for them to leave the cocoon after 3 days hence to grow butterfly wings off of their back or something. Like you could mix all of that together. um, Tribes have always used every bit and piece of an animal. So the Manticore tribe could very well have, the village hunters or elders have glider wings that are pulled from the leather feathery wings off the Manticore, and they fight with these spears with spikes that are taken from the tail spikes from a Manticore or something. And of course, the the village elder and his council of five ride on the back of these multicolored, non-special manticores and whatnot. Heck, the manticores might even have the faces of their relatives in them, because manticores have like half bestial, half humanistic faces. So, I mean, just as an example, heck, you could have unicorns don't have to be white and pure. They can come in different colors if you want them to. And each tribe could be associated with those colors: speckled, black, golden red, and browns or something. Yeah, I'm loving it. The Jarl DM says there could be things like obsidian, cold iron, etc., that are effective against totem creatures when normal steel is not. Oh hell yeah, yeah. That that's been a classic thing long before silvered weapons came around. Wasn't it like cold iron? Like you said, obsidian, mistletoe comes to mind. Is that Norse? But there could be something like that. Ashwood. I my mind's flooding with different mythologies. But yeah, there could very well, mistletoe is what kills Baldur. Yeah, so maybe various tribes are associated with, could even have an association. association with, or try to collect these things to fight the other tribals' monster capabilities, right? So an example would be a particular Fey tribe associated with the Fey are vulnerable with cold steel. So you as the PCs must go out to gather or roll the cold steel into weapons, and the other tribe is trying to prevent you from doing that because, of course, you're going to harm their totemistic animals, or heck, they might even be physically vulnerable to it, or their magic is vulnerable to it. Like if you um, uh, everyone, when they have their encampment, sticks a cold steel rod down in the middle of the encampment because that protects them from the power of being of illusion or something of that nature, right? Cameron says mistletoe was the only thing Odin didn't ask to not harm Baldur. Loki used that to his advantage to secure the death of Baldur. Now, it's possible that, like in these mythological stories passed down from generation to generation, probably instead of magical books, they're passed down through stories, verbal stories. These might be these are the things to watch out for, and so they might be clues. Like if you and your PCs go traveling across the landscape and you see mistletoe, maybe part of the ritual is to either destroy it or understand that this might be a dangerous area, or the rival tribe, you find out the rival tribe has been growing it, and this they might have the ability to counter your powers or ability because they're powers or abilities because they're doing a thing. I'm pulling on a thread here. I know what I'm thinking, but verbally I'm just not getting it out. But I get it there. Let's see. Featherfall says the creatures are called weave beasts, referring to the weave of magic. Okay, all right. They are fox-like creatures made of raw magical energies refined by wizards into pets. Some can become feral if mistreated by their master, although this rarely occurs in the hands of well-provisioned trainers. Ooh. Dungeons and Dragons find familiar. Maybe the familiars, given enough time and training and love and affection, might grow into these pinnacle creatures. So in the beginning, they're little small pets, but after a while, they can grow like 10 times as large as the humans that take care of them. So maybe find familiar is the beginning of that step. Sorry, just pulling on your thread there, Featherfall. Um, Andrus or Andre says maybe a unicorn doesn't have to be a horse at all. Maybe the horn is the symbol of its powers, and the horn can appear in another creature like a stag, giant eagle, or dragon. Yeah, I mentioned that the other day. Like unicorn could be a unicorn could be a set of capabilities, not a horse-like creature. So you could have like you said, like giant eagles or dragons or something. Although um, I made the fake rules for today that the creatures are non-sentient in the manner in which we presume them to be, right? So yeah, oh hell yeah. Like and heck, the horn doesn't even need to be a horn. Like a giant eagle, it could be their beak or their claws, right? It doesn't even have to have a horn. It could just be, or what's the legend of Hercules going after the Nemean lion? um, and Hercules wrestles the lion and shreds its flesh with its own claws, and then leaves it wearing this like lion's fur around his body. It could be the flesh of a monster, the claws, their scales, a cobra's poison, or their fangs, or something like that. And if you happen to meet these people that have these large fangs, why not? Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Blades can't. Jarl DM says Blades can't pierce its skin, so he wrestles it and chokes it. The Nemean lion. Yeah, and so yeah, I think some some combination of, well, even in our own real world, many tribes have killed the very animals that they are also that they also honor. So I don't see a big difference between the two. And in this world, which might be pretty brutal in many ways, or at least like Featherfall was mentioning, it could be, or no, I'm sorry, Gaster was mentioning, it could be very brutal where you have a thinning of the population, and then you just have these havens of safety, and they may not even last very long. A unicorn goes to a place, stays there for one generation, and goes, I think I'm going to leave. And then the people have to go find another one. Or the unicorn has left suddenly, and the tribe's like, we need to go find the unicorn. And that might be the crucible with which these um, apex monsters pick their their charges, or heck, they might even have motivations that don't even relate to humanity or something. Um, Gaster Two Soul says perhaps the Wendigo tribe isn't about hunting, but about running from the giant deer cannibal monster. And if you make it out of the woods without getting harmed by the monster, then you're considered as a true warrior because you ran from greed and hunger and not let it overcome you. Oh, I love the idea of like not just challenging, like oh, it's not just all about hunting something down. It could be about or it's not about killing things, like you say. It could be about, hey, just surviving on your own for in a harsh climate, on your own, no, by your skills, on your by yourself, getting lost on purpose. Or the the Thunderbird comes down through a ritual and grabs up two members of the tribe, because the Thunderbird always does that, rips them up out of the sky, and in a bolt of lightning, they disappear and they're deposited somewhere else. And the whole idea might be just to get back home. And if you can get back home without being seen by these other tribes, you've graduated, right? Like I like that idea. And it could represent the letting go of guilt or your anger, or achieving some form of enlightenment. Hey, good morning there, legally blind lurker. Very good to see you there. uh, let's see. Cameron says, imagine getting a tooth. Getting a tooth. You mean like a tooth of a Shara? Oh, I can't pronounce it. Um, are you thinking about the Catabolus? What's the name of that monster that looks up um, Charybdis or Charybdis? What is that? Why is my mind going to that monster that lives in a swamp that when it looks up, it kills you when you see its eyes? I don't, why I that's the thing that's in my head and I can't get rid of it. It's too early. And I know that you're not referencing that, but I'm thinking, oh man, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Oh, that's yes. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yardian says that's the whirlpool that Odysseus sails past. Yeah, um, the Skyla and Charybdis from the Odyssey. Isn't Because the Odyssey has a number of stories in it, like the Isle of Circe, where she's got all her like men that she's transformed into animals. And yeah, Jarl DM says he sails between Skyla, a sea monster woman creature, and Charybdis is the whirlpool. I forgot about that. There's a number of stories, and who, for me, I'm thinking this world. I don't know. This world might actually flow into Watsy's new release, Mythic Odysseys of Theros, where instead of like the gods, there are these pinnacles of these creatures and monsters that exist in and around this world, and humanity just happens to be like running in and around between the toes of all these monsters that like the Tarask might just be a very common style of creature where there's all these other creatures out there. Yeah, Charybdis is a sea monster in Greek mythology. Subsequent scholarship has suggested that it was based on a whirlpool in the Strait of Messina. Um, I think the classic kraken, like this Charybdis and such, that might actually fit into this world where they kind of reference this in Game of Thrones with the drowned god, and could you imagine a nautical tribal people that sail out to these like large vast lakes or oceans or something, and a giant tentacle comes up in a ritual to grab one or more of their members of their tribe to be snatched down into the deep, only to appear 3 days later, choking, having been drowned, and coming back again. And there's something really strange in their eye, as their eyes have like a milkiness to it, or like a nictating membrane, or they come back slightly changed or mutated or something. Yeah, hey, you want to go from third to fourth level? Gonna have to get drowned. Yeah, your all DM says I got an ancient Greek campaign in the works, and this kind of, I think the unicorn fits into this realm, right? Where Greek mythology has always had major monsters of various types created by the gods. It's not too far of a step for a mundane unicorn to have been created by the pinnacle unicorn or something. Legally Blind Lurker says completed my move back to New York this past weekend. New York State. Oh, really? Really? Well, congratulations. I didn't know that you were from that part of the world. I wonder, where did you come from to get back to New York? I think they asked that. And there's something I would love to talk about, and I don't have a reference point to it on this channel, but I'd love to talk about it for a week. I just haven't gotten there. You, Sometime next, maybe I might even do it next week, because despite the fact that probably out of my mouth it's not a good thing to talk about, but I might do it anyway because it pissed me off like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, oh my god, I would punch somebody in the throat. I'll let you know about what I'm talking about when I get ready to end the show. But yeah, your all DM says, what is dead can never die, but rises again, harder and stronger. Iron Islands are the coolest part of Game of Thrones to me. Yeah, because it has to be, because I can see it pulling on that Viking nautical like spirit of yours, man. Yeah, and they're almost a Game of Thrones. They're almost a throwback faction in a way. Um, kind of combination of like uh, blending a little bit of like Viking piracy as well, the Age of Piracy. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Um, Gaster Two Soul says the greatest warrior isn't just a killing machine. It's about staying on your wits and surviving in the new dark landscape we live in. You know, much like the let's pull upon the movie Black Panther, right? Where I've heard somebody make the claims or the argument that it makes no sense that in the movie Black Panther, thank you there. Well, going by the title Zero, uh, popping in a number of these creations. Thank you very much for the visuals. In Black Panther, some have made the argument that it makes no sense that these different tribes would be led by warriors. And I would contend that Black Panther, the movie, where they have the ritual combat between who's going to lead Wakanda, makes perfect sense, because the individuals picked aren't necessarily just picked because of their warrior nature. They are picked amongst people who represent the epitome, the pinnacle of that, the ideals of that tribe. And part of that is like survival and diplomacy and what are some other, come on, give me some other skills, medicine, and uh, a an ability to become one with nature, any number of these other skills, and on layered on top of that is the warrior skills, right? And then that individual is then picked to have this ritual combat. Because if you only pick somebody that's only good at fighting, you might not want your tribe or even all of Wakanda ruled by that individual. So these various tribes of humanity, and I'd use humanity very loosely, could be like there could be these showdowns, there could be these rituals, um, uh, there could be long-standing um, codes of conduct in this tribalistic world where they do confront each other. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to the death. It could be these, like, every generation, the young ones come from all the tribes, gather together to have to scale the mountain to get an egg from a nest up at the top or something, and they all come from these different tribes, and they're like, we're going to be there first, or maybe on foot, that like the Iditarod, the Arctic, the long Arctic test of endurance across the frozen landscape. Like maybe it's a test of adulthood for the young boys and girls that want to be part of the tribe, and if they survive to travel from one place to another, they can graduate up. And then of course along the way there's like sabotage and assassinations and people trying to steal other people's belongings, and there might be animosity, fighting going on. But after a month, they get to the other end, and the families hope one day they get there. So I could see that. Yeah, Cameron's like, I've also been on a Greek kick lately. Bronze has got my mind working. I've made bronze the metal that Fae fight with, since I like my Fae afraid of iron. Yeah, the bronze aging. I like bronze aging where like iron and steel are rare, if not even available, but people are using like bone, wood, stone. What are some other hardened? Maybe some kind of petrified version in between. What is it? Bronze, brass, copper. Not as hard, but people have used it for many generations. So yeah. Your DM says, "Me too, Cam." Total War Troy came out the other day, and I'm consumed with the Iliad and that strange, almost prehistory Bronze Age time at the moment. Yeah, and the Bronze Age, an iron weapon is a magic weapon. Oh, I would definitely say that. Hell yeah, hell's yes. Heck, there might even be some strange individual that's able to forge iron, in some hidden alcove or someplace like that. And they're like, "What are you doing? How are you able to do this?" And they're like, "This is iron is given to us by the great, I don't know, burrowing creature or something like that has gifted us or something." Yeah, no problem there, Lloyd. Yeah. Um, Gaster Two Soul says, I even kind of have some idea for stuff like the New World's form of armor, depending on the environment. Oh yeah, turtle shells, wood plates. I think there's even been paper armor created. Although I don't know in this world you'll have parchment and paper. I think it's like you layer it and wet it. Oiled leather and cloth might be a thing. Um, bone woven and laced together might also be a thing. So yeah, oh yeah, of course bronze plate mail and greaves and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Cameron says yes, the Iditarod, however you spell it. I don't know how to spell it either. It's so freaking cool. Yeah, death-defying, relatively high-speed endurance race through frozen forests, over rivers, and across tundras, all with big fluffy dogs. You just like the fluffy dogs, man. No, but really, like, could you imagine like the PCs actually have to survive from one to the other, and then maybe they're traveling with their totemic creature? So, like, the PCs are actually traveling with an owl bear, and they have to feed the owl bear and take care of it and keep other predators from going after it. And make sure that it doesn't get distracted from the mission. Because the owlbear might be like, I'm going to eat some fish, and the PCs are like, we got to go. Come on, come on, come on. Raya Garcia, I like fluffy dogs. Me too, man. Or young lady, or whoever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I like fluffy dogs as well. Legally Blind says a multi-part trial, mind, body, and soul. Yeah, who's to say that that these contests don't become spiritual in a sense? Heck, there are how many um, how many different types of cultures around the world over the centuries have had like tests of the spirit, not necessarily of the physical body, but of the of walking, leaving the body, and having an out of body experience. So yeah, having that happen in these worlds, hell, even the act of going on these brutalistic trips across the a barren landscape or something to achieve your adulthood could drive you from the starvation, from the exposure to the elements, from dehydration and the pain and suffering. Might the heat, the cold, heck, even a disease or something might drive you into another world where it tests your very soul. And maybe that's how they do planar travel in this world, right? It's not just, hey, I'm going to open up a doorway. Maybe it's far more brutal to get to another plane of existence. And even if you do get to another plane of existence, it's just it's your soul on the silver cords tethered back to your body to go to these other locations and then come back after these tests have been done. I like that. I like that. Gaster Two Soul says the Wendigo tribe wear heavy fur pelt clothes to protect themselves from the cold. Maybe donning themselves antler helmets to scare off other tribes, and even using bone as a form of armor to guard themselves. Yeah, I think whatever tribe there would be an equivalent like armory associated with that particular tribe. So like you said, the Wendigo might have thick furs, and it might be far more than the classic, I mean, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons hide armor. It might be something far more protective than that, right? Like you could even do it, you could even have a um, I'm not an honor system. It's the more pelts you wear, mechanically your armor class goes up, and it's also a representation of the successes you've had in survival. So a person that's wearing 3 pelts might, their armor class might go up 3 points, moving up from hide armor to the equivalent of something else, and it also represents their status in the tribe, right? Like I've got over one shoulder, I've got a lion's pelt, and around my waist, I've got a bear's fur, and then over my satchel's made from the skin of the slain giant crocodile or something like that. Like each of these things, wrapped around the braces on my forearms are the claws of a bear, which, heck, you might even have up to start out with an armor class of 10, go up to like +6. So 2 legs, 2 arms, the head and the chest, head and torso, and then what you're wearing on that part of your body just keeps adding to it. Just do it narratively. I don't know. I guess you could do that mechanically. Cameron's like, I want to play in this world badly. I'm also downloading Balto right now, by the way. Yeah. And now, mind you, like we were talking before, like your DM brings up the idea of like Goodberry destroys agriculture. I'm thinking, pulling on this thread again, that magic might not be something that you cast. It might be something that you gather together to cast. So in order to cast the spell Goodberry, you have to find Goodberry seeds and then plant those seeds and then water it with it's got to be watered with from the pure waters of the so and so stream or river or something, but it's protected by another tribe. Like it in replacing or combining magic items in magic might be going out into the woods to collect things that bring together a thing so you can do a thing, right? It's a video gaming. It's like it's grinding, right, to do the thing. And maybe there is a cave that acts as a tiny hut spell, or maybe there is a blind elder that has the ability to create food and water. And if you go to the blind elder and the blind elder says, "Tell me about your trials and tribulations, and no lies, but tell me a story of your great conquests or trials of uh of adulthood or something," and you tell the blind person there, and once you tell them and they judge you worthy, then they create food and water for you. So instead of PCs hoarding things on their body, it might be making a map of where these things are located. Like, you can't bring them with you, but you can know where they're at. So, hey, if we go northeast, that's where the bushes are that we found that have the good berries in them. All right, let's load up with some good berries in our bag and our satchel, and then we'll leave, only to have to come back to the off to the west. There's the stream of golden liquid that if you drink it, you'll get healed. Or maybe even you have the ability to cast certain spells, maybe freely in your own region. The further you go away from your region, the less likely you are. Like, for example, Dungeon Master's Guide. They you can stretch out short rests, long rests. Um, I had this idea of incorporating this in hell. I might even still write it in a world where the short rests, long rests are pulled out and stretched out, and so you have like um, encampments, settlements, and like havens. So at a haven, you use the basic fifth edition rules. At a settlement, like a short rest instead of being an hour is like 2 hours, and a long rest instead of 8 hours is like it could be doubled. It could be like 16 hours, it could be 2 days, and then an encampment, which is yet one further step away, is the most brutal, where a short rest might be like 4 hours, and a long rest might be 32 hours or something. And you really like, hey, I've got a fireball, and I'm not going to get that back for like 4 days of travel or something like that. Like, we've got to be real careful. And so I don't know. I think you could. That's just one idea of doing it that way, but I don't know. Gaster Two Souls, before we get out of here, Gaster Two Souls says the Thunderbird tribe probably would wear feathers as a way to protect themselves from the rain and heavy environment, along as a way of remembrance for the Thunderbird who they are in alliance to. Gathering the feathers together, yeah, I can see that. Maybe a Thunderbird archer must do a one shot, one kill on one of the giant thunderbirds that happened during like one of those powerful rainstorms. And if you can one shot, one kill, just one arrow, take it down, then you can gather the feather, feed your tribe, and maybe, just maybe, those arrows made from the bones of the thunderbird allow you to shoot an arrow that becomes like a bolt of lightning or something. Gaster says perhaps magic is more like a meditation, so you have to get all your things for your spells. For the spell to happen, you then need to do some sort of meditation to allow someone to cast the spell. Yeah. Cameron's like, hey, don't trust the stream of golden liquid. I hear giants live up in them their hills. What's it taste like, huh? Was it? Do you know what it tastes like? Ooh, taste the golden stream. What the? Tastes like piss. And everyone's like, how do you know what piss tastes like? Well, I heard rumor. Gasser says you can't just summon a fireball out of nothing. You need a stone, maybe something that will result in fire, and then meditate for you to charge up your spell and then fire. That's what I'm thinking of, Two Soul. Like, it's you must gather the things, like maybe you need a volcanic rock, and then you also need um like maybe to do the I don't know. I don't know. You need ash from a campfire and a stone from a volcanic rock, and then you need maybe a third thing, or you must gather together and do the meditation to enchant it to then be used later. Who knows? Anyway, the point is, I would love to play in this kind of world, even though it puts a huge limitation on the cinematic magic that fifth edition is. I still think it works, man. I still think it works. But anyway, guys, we've come to the hour mark. Thank you very much for being part of this. Tomorrow is Third Pillar Thursday, third pillar of exploration Thursday. For those who don't know, combat and social interactions in tabletop RPGs are two of the pillars. Exploration is the third, and we've definitely got a lot to pull on for this. We've kind of been talking around it for the most part. But anyway, you guys know I'm the self-appointed third pillarist of the tabletop RPG community, where we talk about exploration, traps, lairs, puzzles, riddles, obstacles, hazards, and all that good stuff. And heck, even just cool places to have fights with punching people in the throat. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, and thank you very much. And yeah, there's something pissed me off the other day about people literally showing hate to a young lady that decided to create an optional battle wheelchair. And like, there's people who actually like said, she said she actually got a death threat, and I'm like, really? There's people out there. So I kind of wanted to talk about disabilities in role-playing games in and around the community. And I don't know if I'm the representative for that, but I sure as hell got pissed off about hearing about someone treating her and the entire idea of having a wheelchair in role-playing games in the first place. But anyway, guys, have a great one. Sorry I brought that up at the end, but it just pissed me off. I just don't know how I felt about it. But have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Sorry about that. All right, now. See you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. As I go grab my asset here. Let me go grab my ass.